My Hero Academia is back with another chapter. Last time, Aoyama and Deku managed to pull off the greatest hat trick of all time, fooling All for One. Thanks to a combined effort of Shinso using his improved brainwash ability to manipulate Aoyama as well as his mother into being able to deceive All for One, as well as Monama's copy ability, copying Kurogiri's warp ability, using that in order to import tons and tons of heroes. The battle is ready to get underway, but that didn't stop all of the plans of the heroes, as they managed to also hide underneath the floor of Deku and Aoyama's meeting place cages to encase all of the various different villains, sending them through warp portals, dividing them up to be conquered, hopefully, by the hero. What'll happen next? Let's find out. Okay, My Hero Academia, number 345, Division. Okay, we peek into one of the containers as we see Toga with various other villains. The villains say the cage is moving. They really think this tin can is gonna hold us? But Toga, looking kind of worried, says, "Break it open, quickly." So as some of the villains come breaking out of their containers, Dabi says, "Your pathetic cages didn't even last 3 whole seconds." But in comes Todoroki flying in. 3 seconds is all we needed. And Monoma is thinking, lock them down for an instant, break them into smaller groups, seize the slightest advantage, all of this to shove you into those warp gates all at once and split you up without fail. And we see all of the heroes doing their best to push back all of the villains, and Monoma laughing to himself as all of them go through the portal says, "I am the mover and shaker." One of the villains clashing with the hero says, "How absurd. You Mammonist, weird. You Mammonists must have sunk a fortune into this plan just for this?" And one of the heroes says, one of the heroes who kind of looks like Crust to a certain degree, it says, "I'm impressed. We've even got a strategy to counter that nasty decay quirk. You swaggered in like you owned the place, but now you'll be scattered to the winds." And as the heroes are busy pushing back the villains, a portal opens up, and what kind of looks like Jiro's earphone jack grabs a hold of Deku's arm and portals him away, while Bakugo is going, "Come on, cram him in there!" Only for him to just notice at the last second that Deku is being pulled away. It looks like it's through one of Kurogiri's warps, though. Strange. Meanwhile, All Might is in the comm center saying, "Fat, take command down there and mop up the stragglers, and look out for young Aoyama." Fat Gum says, "Roger." And he turns to Aoyama and says, "This is the place where you fall? One heck of a bluff there, Squirt." And Aoyama says, "Mercy." He's still freaked out. All Might says, "Get back to Aozawa, Monoma." And Aoyama says, "The mastermind retreats." All Might says, "They're divided now. We shift to phase 2. And what looks to be the group that ended up with All for One, that he's clashing with, Wild Dog? I see Tokoyami, Kamui Woods, Endeavor. I think that's Pixie Bob from the Wild Wild Pussycat. And then you see Hawks, who says, "Welcome, fellas." And something strikes All for One in the back of the head. But I don't know if it did a lot of damage to him. All for One says, "The Gunga Villa site, I see." And Hawk says to Endeavor, "Sorry to say, Endeavor, I knew he wouldn't show up with armor I could actually crack." So he was going in for a death blow. Endeavor says, "Relax, I didn't have my hopes up anyway. We learned it in Camino that your ooze warp is an inferior version of what Kurogiri can do, All for One. It has a much shorter range, and you can't warp yourself either. The UA barrier got some upgrades with that in mind. At the end of the day, your hubris is going to be your downfall." A nice speech by Endeavor. All for One says, "Splitting us up to divide and conquer? A fine plan, I suppose. That is, if you were actually hoping for a shot at victory. The sharp decline in the hero population meant dividing our forces was a necessity. Fair enough. But you're a cruel man, Endeavor. Pitting one of all against Tomura. One of all? Weird. Whatever. Pitting one of all against Tomura is a deadly nice edge to dance upon. But the most brutal part of this little scheme has to be you forcing your youngest to clean up your own mess, no matter how much it pains him. And then we see Todoroki going up against Dabi. Dabi who, it looks like he has more patchwork than before. So yeah, honestly, it might end up being Dabi who ends up killing himself in the effort to take down Todoroki. All for One continues, and the unceasing abuse towards your eldest child. What the fuck is that? What the heck is that? Is that UA as a flying mobile fortress? When did that happen? That is insane. I guess this is where Tomura ended up. He says, UA? What's going on? And we have Best Jeanist up on one of the platforms in the area, and Bakugo goes rocketing towards him saying, Denim Head, bad friggin' news! They got us good! Deku ain't here! Oh, okay. See, I was wondering what was going on because during the start of the chapter, Himiki Toga was zeroing in on where Deku was. So she was the one. Okay, I thought it was Jiro's earphone jack, but it was actually one of Toga's little sucker things. The little needle she has on her suit. So Deku ended up at the same place as Froppy, Gang, Orca, and Uraraka. Actually, this makes a lot of sense. You have Uraraka saying, Deku, why are you here? You're supposed to be with Shigaraki. And Deku says, well, he thinks to himself, the Force Danger Sense didn't trigger? See, Toga might be difficult to deal with because it's potentially that she's not looking to harm Deku, or she doesn't have malicious intent towards Deku. Despite her actions, she sees it as an act of love. That would be wild. Like her intentions, despite what her actions might lead to, like Deku being cut up and bloody, it doesn't come from a place of malice, and so the danger sense doesn't detect her abilities and stuff like that. That would be interesting. And I guess this might end up serving as a bit of closure on Toga's character, because with these matchups, I mean, Toga has been pursuing Deku for a while now, as well as Uraraka, as well as Froppy. Like, those are the characters Toga has had, like, the closest relationship to, so having her face off with these three characters, it's actually a good plan. It's pretty decent. But Bakugo against Shigaraki? Oof. That'll be interesting. But Deku has to end up where Shigaraki is at some point. So how much, is Bakugo gonna lose to Shigaraki? Is he gonna die? What's gonna end up happening here? And the matchup, Dabi versus Shoto. And I think Ida is also there at that moment too. So that's gonna be pretty cool. I think Burnin ended up at that location too. I think a lot of Endeavor's sidekicks ended up in the same place as Shoto and Dabi. And it's at the All Might statue. Yeah, at the Camino Ward with the All Might statue with him with the fist up. That's a pretty cool battleground. But Endeavor and Hawks versus All for One. Yeah, I don't know how well that's gonna work out. What's up? I'm looking at the page when All for One and Endeavor and the rest of them were coming through the portals. I didn't notice Hawks was behind All for One when I first looked at this page. I didn't even notice that, but you see him with his swords at the ready before he says, "Welcome, fellas," and he just strikes at All for One from the back. It's interesting, though, that All for One just mostly protects his head. Is it as long as his head survives, the rest of him will always be okay? Is that why mostly his head was damaged by All Might? Because it can't just be because he needs a respirator. I feel like All for One would plan for a little bit more than that. This was wild. This is wild. It also kind of feels like things are happening just a little too fast, though. Like, the fact that UA has become this giant mobile fortress, like, I would have loved to have seen it, like, rise up and take off or something like that. That would have been an awesome moment. Yeah, that definitely feels like a missed opportunity there. But it really does feel like Horikoshi is just ready to just move on for the most part. It really has been feeling like he sidelined a lot of plans that he had just to move things into the final act of things. But I feel like a lot of those plans were things that he knew some of the more hardcore fans wouldn't like, because remember, we had that moment where Jiro was talking about putting on this performance for all the people staying in the base and stuff like that, and it never happened. I know there are plenty of people who are fine with that, but I hate the thought of him compromising what he wants to do just because of the reaction of other fans and other people. You know, sometimes it's for the best, but sometimes that actually would have added something to the characters and all that. Because now we're in the final battle and all that. That would have been the last little bit of levity we could have gotten. I don't know. Tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you think about some of these matchups? Personally, I don't see the matchup of All For One against Hawks and Endeavor going well. Not in the slightest. The showdown between Shoto and Dabi, I feel like Dabi's gonna burn himself out. That he's gonna end up killing himself in the process. Best Genius and Bakugo versus Shigaraki, I don't see that working out too well. But Deku, Gang Orca, Uravity, Froppy versus Toga, they have that on lock, but it's going to be hard fought because Toga has the Sadman's Parade at her command. So that it'll be an interesting showdown and with a lot of heartfelt moments, I feel. But as always, the art, phenomenal. Just absolutely phenomenal. You know, Monoma came in, he did his part, he was the biggest player of them all, so well done, Monoma. You came pretty full circle on all of this. But tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. If you liked this video, feel free to subscribe so that way you don't miss out on the next one, or don't. I ain't your daddy, but I still love you like one. Until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, bye-bye.